My name is Vishal Talreja. I'm a co-founder at DreamaDream. DreamaDream is a Bangalore-based non-profit organization working with children and young people from vulnerable backgrounds, helping them overcome adversity and to thrive in the 21st century using a creative life skills approach. As the coronavirus pandemic started spreading across the world, a big piece of that impact has been on children and young people across the world, and most importantly on children from marginalized communities in countries like India. Over 260 million children in India go to school, the largest population of school-going children. And as we started understanding the impact on the children, and we started talking to them and listening to them, we saw that there was a whole host of challenges that children and young people were facing in India, especially from marginalized communities. There was loss of income and livelihood amongst families who were largely working in informal labor markets. And because of that, the families are going through extreme poverty crisis, hunger, unable to pay their rent, inability to find jobs, and this is going to impact the children's ability to come back into the education system when schools reopen. There has been a massive migration crisis in India, where nearly 400,000 to 500,000 people, along with their families, have moved away from cities to small towns and villages due to loss of income, loss of livelihood. If we are not able to secure their livelihoods in the future, it's unlikely these families will come back, and the direct impact of this is going to be on children because they might not be able to rejoin the school system. There is, of course, anxiety and stress that children are facing because of lack of information, because of misinformation, because of fake news, because of how they are seeing the pandemic play out around them. Recently, we had this shocking news of a 14-year-old girl who committed suicide because she was unable to attend online classes that her school had scheduled because her family didn't have a smartphone, her family didn't have a television. I think the underlying complex challenge around a young girl committing suicide is the anxiety, the stress, the trauma of this pandemic that has now gone on for nearly 2 months, which we are not necessarily addressing. When these children come back into the school system, having faced this extreme trauma, are they prepared to go back into learning right away, or do they need time and space and an environment of emotional safety and care and empathy and well-being where they can make sense of this trauma and learn to respond to this trauma, learn to reconnect with themselves, reconnect with each other, and reconnect with the world before they can reconnect with learning itself. There is high incidence of violence and abuse. For many children, school was the space which provided them safety, which gave them a meal a day, which made sure that they were safe from violence and abuse in their communities, in their homes. But now with the lockdown, these children have facing heightened violence and abuse, not just in their home, but also in their neighborhoods. There is a disproportionate impact on girls. Girls are taking care of the household, making decisions for the family in many cases, taking care of younger siblings. They are going to probably face more hunger because with limited food, boys' food provisions and health is going to be given priority over girls. With limited income and livelihood opportunities, girls' education is going to be deprioritized, and that is going to impact girls' ability to come back to the school system. And of course, there is the loss of learning. With the extended lockdown, children's ability to continue to engage in learning has been impacted. We do know when there's a lag time in learning, children to go back to their earlier learning levels, forgetting what they've been taught. But also now with extensive digital resources available, children from marginalized communities don't have access to these digital resources, either because their families don't have smartphones, or a family of 4 or 6 have to share one phone, or they don't have bandwidth or data packet or money to buy internet packages. And this is going to have disproportionate impact. A combination of all these factors is going to result in sustained long-term trauma. And we know when children experience trauma over a sustained period of time, it impacts their ability to engage with life, with the world, with each other. It impacts their ability to achieve developmental milestones, resulting in failure to thrive or stunting. And the impact of that is long term and sometimes spread across the lifetime of an individual. What this pandemic has thrown up, in addition to all these challenges that children and young people from marginalized communities are facing, is also the already existing systemic and structural challenges that have existed in an outdated education system that we have. This pandemic has thrown up the fact that our education system is not preparing our kids for uncertainty, for volatility, for the fast pace of change, for highly vulnerable realities that are becoming increasingly real for all of us. It has also shown that an education system that traditionally had been designed largely for workforce development, job readiness, resource extraction, has now taken a backseat, and for the first time in the world, globally, across the world, we have had to prioritize our health and well-being and life over economic development. However, our education systems are not designed to help our children invest in their own well-being and nurture children's well-being. And this pandemic has shown that in its most stark form, with the heightened level of mental health and emotional challenges that children and young people are facing across this pandemic. The pandemic has also thrown up systemic inequities that have existed in our education system, have existed in our world. What we're doing now is just taking our prejudices and biases from the offline world into an online world. That's not going to work. When talking to an 8th grader, she was sharing this story with us that she managed to convince her family to pick up a data pack because her school was doing online classes. And she was 5 minutes late to her class, and the teacher marked her absent and didn't let her join the class. So what the teacher did was basically took the offline prejudices and biases and just played them out in an online world, not being empathetic to what the girl might have been going through just to get online. What we need to be able to do now is understand the complexities of access to learning, of how learning happens, what needs to be taught in the 21st century, what is the real purpose of education in a fast-changing, complex, uncertain world. And before we jump onto like a 10-point action plan to respond to all these challenges from a space of panic, our invitation is, let's take a step back. Let's pause. Let's be still for just a moment longer. Let the grief that all of us in the world are experiencing stay with us for a bit longer. Let us accept that what we are experiencing right now is grief, is discomfort. And then see what is emerging for us from our intuition, and what is the most compassionate offer we can give to our children who are living this pandemic, who are experiencing this future in their present right now. What we need to invite into ourselves is that stillness, is that pause, and respond from a space of kindness. And our invitation to parents, to educators, to school leaders, to policymakers, to the government is take that pause. Invite kindness into the choices and decisions that we are making for our children. Help our children make sense, make meaning out of this trauma. This has been probably one of the most important life lessons that children have learned in the last 2 months. How do we convert this life lesson to help our children learn more about themselves, learn more about each other, and learn more about this amazing planet that we have? So our invitation to all of you is, let's invite a sense of possibility, of a real reimagination of education that is based on the foundations of justice, equity, and most importantly, on foundations of kindness. We are running this global campaign called the What If campaign, where we are inviting young people, parents, educators, school leaders, policymakers, employers, media, anyone to share their own what if from a space of stillness, from a space of kindness, from a space of compassion.